Hello. Welcome to the Yes You May live stream podcast, where we bring beautiful people in to help you live your best life by being able to believe in yourself and give yourself permission to follow your dreams or do whatever it is that you want to do. Today, I have an exciting guest with me. She is a personal friend and somebody that I just smile every time I talk to her. So honestly, if you're not smiling, then maybe this isn't for you. I don't know. But without further ado, I want to bring on my guest tonight. Her name is Renisha Allen. She is a fantastic human being who is using science to figure out this whole self-confidence thing in the first place. So, Miss Renisha Allen, welcome to the show. Woo-hoo!
Oh, Amanda, we are here.
I know. I'm so excited you're here. It's your birthday month, so hey.
Yes, it is. Hey, party time.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Thank you so much for coming. I just love your energy, and anything you put out just makes me smile. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us your journey and how you've decided to give yourself permission and just jump in on your goals and on your life. And I know you've got some exciting news to tell us towards the end, probably. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Something you might be up to. So tell me, how did you start first really believing in yourself and following your own dreams?
You know, for me to start believing in myself and following my own dreams, it actually came with affirmation from people I trust.
Good.
Oftentimes, people look at us on the stage called success, and they may assume polish and poise happens overnight, and it does not. As a little girl, I was not a public speaker. I sort of stumbled over into the whole communications arena. I am a native of Atlanta, Georgia, which I hear is very rare these days. Shout out to all
I
the
am not.
aliens out there. And I grew up on the west side of town, and specifically where I grew up, I was right across the street from a MARTA station. Can you believe that?
Oh, those do exist.
Now, the plot thickens. I am an only child. So, in my early days, I just wanted someone to talk to. I wanted someone to play with. And
Right.
oftentimes there were so many busy pedestrians, the MARTA trains, the bus, you name it. I made total strangers on Anderson Avenue on the west side of Atlanta my first audience. They would hear songs, they would hear speeches, anything that was on young Renisha's heart, they received it. And some of my family laughed while as my parents embraced it. Because they said this is the perfect way for her to express herself. And that's what I did. So when I was not playing with my Barbie dolls and using voice inflection with Barbie and Skipper and Ken, then there I was on my front steps with the MARTA pedestrians and passengers and customers as my first audience. And that gave me the confidence. One day in elementary school, they were auditioning for parks for a school play. And I had never auditioned for a play. I'd never participated in one, but it looked like something I wanted to do. And I got the script from our director, came home with my mom. I started rehearsing. And my mom was like, "Are you really going to audition for the starring role like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just reading the script." She's like, "Nobody gets a part by reading the script. You have to become the script. You have to enhance the script." So here's that affirmation that came from people that believed in me. And fast forward, after that day of just shaking in my boots, not knowing what to do with the script, I started making the stage my own. Everything that I had bubbled up inside, I overcame fear by just testing it out.
Nice.
And back then, I didn't know I would become a chemist, let alone want to test things out in a communications lab. But that's what has happened. So the MARTA station girl, starring role in school plays, has now become a person that likes to give back to others and let them know, hey, embrace your journey. There's a science to it. And what's the science to it? Make life your lab. Always keep testing it. Always keep improving it. Don't be afraid of the spills. It comes with the territory.
I love that. I like the make life your lab. I'm going to type it in so people can remember.
Make life your lab.
That's brilliant. Because that's important. Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to be too perfect or this or that, or like worrying about other people's judgment, and we forget that we can just
I love
do
that.
things
We do. We do.
and enjoy life as it is. Make life your lab. That's see, already just dropping wisdom on me here.
I'm telling you, and you know something else that I paid attention to as well. So, telling you about elementary school and acting, and I sort of did away with that part of my life and traveled through middle school, just being a typical teenager, high school, typical teenager. And then there comes the day where your high school counselor asks you, "Hey, where do you want to go in your career? What do
Right.
you want to do when you go to college?" And you're like, "I just want to go to the football game on a Friday night. I don't know."
I don't have an answer.
But we had a serious conversation about where to go. And at that time, people were telling me to go in different directions because certain careers would allow you to make a certain amount of money. That was the narrative.
Oh,
So
yes.
initially, I was told do something in the medical field. So you definitely want to take Latin and you would need to take a lot of science classes.
Yeah.
Well, I loved Latin because I had taken it already. And then I loved science because for science, for me, I'm an empirical person. I love what I can touch, feel, taste, hold. I love what I can experience, what I can encounter. It's cool to have a theory. It's another thing to test that theory out and convert
Right.
it to truth.
Yep.
And that is one of my personal mottos. So I fell in love with science in high school, took 2 years of chemistry. My teacher was a Georgia Tech graduate. She was
Ooh.
amazing. She brought it to life. And then that passion was converted into a major in college. Again, the narrative is major in science, go
Right.
into the medical field, you'll make great money. Making great money does not equate happiness, let alone guarantee that you are actually in purpose.
Right.
You can't put a dollar amount on it. So I declared the major. I'm still moving forward with the narrative. And after majoring in it, having a Bachelor of Science in chemistry, and then after that degree, working in pharmacy for almost 5, 6 years, I finally reckoned within myself, this is just simply not for you. While you love the knowledge, while you love the content, this is not you. So here I
Mhm.
was at a crossroads, Amanda. I said, okay,
Yeah.
what do you do with the degree that you've invested in? Because student loans
Mm.
are real.
Yeah. Big
And what do
time.
you do with the time that you've invested?
Yeah.
You can't throw that away. So instead of wasting it, I brought it in the lab. And instead of being in a lab with chemistry, chemicals, elements, all of that jazz, I have made communications my lab because I'm super passionate about it. And throughout life, while people have always marveled at how great I've become, I became great because I found out I've been living my life in the lab. Once I
Mm.
perfect something, then I bring it out and present it. I get additional feedback. I get additional evaluation, observation, and then I bring it back in and tweak it some more. So as long as you're on that recycled pattern that you're always keeping in your mind, the largest room in the world is room for improvement. It's perfect to set yourself up as a lab rat.
The largest room, what did you say? The largest room in the world is room for improvement.
That's it.
Did you come up with that, or is that like, I love that.
An old mentor, author unknown, shared it in
Right.
our circle, and I've just continued to go out and share it with the world. I wish I could take credit for that
Right.
one, but that was not mine.
I have a saying like that. Mine is life is meant to be enjoyed. And I'm like, I don't know if I came up with that or not. And I tried Googling it one time and I couldn't find anybody who said. I was like, I guess it's mine. I don't know.
That's it. It's all mine.
I'm gonna take it. I don't know.
That's it.
But I like what you said is like, people often see the polish and think
Mhm.
it happens so quickly.
Mhm.
And they often don't see that you can connect the dots in your own life journey and it will all come to fruition. And you don't have to be so like, this isn't the right thing. This isn't the right path. Like, oh, I'm supposed to do X, Y, Z. The society expects me to do whatever. And I
Yes.
think we often get hung up on that. Even myself, I was always like, oh, I'm supposed to be this.
Mhm.
This isn't ever going to connect. And we assume
Mhm.
that one thing in our life isn't going to relate to another thing when in fact anything can. And our journey is going to take us down this like twists and turns, and eventually it's all going to come together, and you're going to be like, oh, that's why. Or you're just never going to see it because you're never open to the possibility.
That's
And I
true.
think that's the key, is being open to seeing how things can connect and figuring it out and making life your lab.
Making
Boom.
life your lab. And you
Just
think
do
about
it.
it, there is this phobia with public speaking.
Oh,
Research says people would rather be open casket sharp at their funeral than to stand in front of people delivering a message. Coupled with that, most people actually hate science in school.
that's true.
It's such an oxymoron for me to bring the greatest fear and the deepest hate together. And then there's this combustion, this explosion that happens. Trinitro-toluene, just short for TNT.
Oh, I don't know this. I do like science, but it's been a
It
minute.
brings me joy that I can take that side of me and light people up. If you think about this, Amanda, like in chemistry, it applies to life's principles. We have this principle called the Le Chatelier's principle in chemistry,
Mhm.
and in a short form, whenever if you're a system and you experience some type of disturbance, it throws you off your equilibrium. Naturally, you fight back to achieve either a new equilibrium or to get back where you were. That's human
Mm.
nature.
Yeah.
Human nature is all about how can I recover from that fall, that flaw, that disturbance? Can I either establish a new place that helps me forget about what just happened or get back to where I was so I can press the rewind? And how many of us have gone in front of people and we said, I wish I would have done that differently.
Yeah.
You don't have to stand there in paralysis. Simply take that experience, put it in the lab, and ask yourself not what I did wrong, but opportunity here. What's the open door here? What can I do to put on a fresh a dose of protective wear to block out all the doubt? What
Yeah.
can I do to put on my lab coat to shield myself from the adversity? And will I keep my lab notebook open that I will document all of these observations? And when people ask me, how did I get here? I can simply open the narrative of my notebook and say, here, I have spills. I have encountered acidity. My alkalinity has been off at times, but look at me now.
Oh, you're such a word master. You just put string. I don't
And
even
that
know if you
comes from the
realize
lab.
how
That comes
much
from
you
the lab.
string things together so
String it
beautifully.
together. It's like putting the perfect compound together, and life is all about not only finding your formula, but you have to be open that every day is about balancing that equation. Chemistry is
Mhm.
filled with balancing the equation.
Yep. That's so true. And I think a lot of people look at failure or not having things go to
Yes.
correct as a negative thing.
Yes.
And to me, it's like if you aren't trying, that's when you're failing.
That's it.
It's if you're trying, if you're doing, it's never a fail. It might not have gone the way you wanted, but like you said, as long as you're open and willing to look at what happened and then learn, because man, I'm going to forget who said this. Some guy back in the day said that the best time to learn is in moments of reflection. It's not
I
during
love
the
that.
event, it's after the event, and then taking the time to actually think, okay, what went right, what went wrong. And I think that's something important in science, right?
That's
They
right.
really talk about taking the time after to really look and say, after would be over here, after to say, okay, what went well? What can we work on? Where do we improve? And I think that's the approach that more people could use. So how can people do that in their own lives? Look more at the results and then analyze afterwards. Take that like scientific approach to things.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I think they'll have to have a defining moment like what I did one day. I often saw failure different as if it was final. I used to see failure as
Yeah.
final.
Yes.
One day I read Thomas Edison declared, specifically pertaining to the light bulb, I have not failed. I found 10,000 ways that does not work.
Mm,
So this was just that 10,000. The other 10,000 and the other 10,000 are waiting. And I'm not wasting time by exhausting those 10,000s. Why? Because even if you fail, you're not starting over. You're from experience.
Right.
You
Right.
can take what just happened, and now it's like a scientist. Okay, last time I mixed these two things together, they did not go well. So out of the two things that I mixed together, who was the miscreant here? Who was the one that misbehaved? Great. So you, Mr. Element, won't make it into the next experiment. I'll try something new, and now I'll observe that behavior. And that is a way that I have begun to view failure. And then when I think about failure, if we define that,
Yeah.
really, how are you embracing it though? How are you making that a part of who you are? So the way you define things, it does change the trajectory of your worldview about yourself. I'm speaking about a self worldview, because you are a world all to yourself. You are an economy all by
Mhm.
yourself. So what are you doing to shape your world? In the physical world, people every day, like right now, Amanda, you and I are having this conversation. You are interacting with Renisha's world. You're interacting with my supply chain. You're
Yep.
interacting with my thought life. You're interacting with my economy. You're interacting with my exchange of goods and services. You're interacting with my land, my mountains, my valleys, my oceans. You're interacting with everything in this moment. And so when you think about failure, what you've done is you have eliminated yourself, you've excused yourself and exempt yourself from the possibility of recovery. You
Mhm.
have exempt yourself from the rebound. You have exempt yourself from renewal. Never cancel yourself out from renewal.
Not good.
We won't be doing cancel culture when it comes to development and growth. We just can't do it. That culture is not canceled. Growth and development will always be a culture that's in style. It will always be funded.
And that's the one that I think we need to perpetuate even more, especially our middle. I call us the bridge generation, not millennials. I call us the bridge.
I love it.
Because I think our younger generations just see this instant gratification world and this, oh, we can just no more, and not see how everything isn't gonna be instant. You have to work at things. You
You
have to
do.
grow. You have to take the time to learn. And it's not being taught to them because they've got, I'm gonna do it. I know I've harped on this many times, but they got these and they're
Yeah.
telling them everything, right? Like
Yes.
and they're not seeing the growth that people go through. And that's why I felt so empowered to do this show. It's because people need to see
Yes, they
that
do.
it does take effort and it does take growth. And that's why I love that you're jumping in the pool with us on this. To
Jumping
to
in the
to
pool.
unveil and show the reality
That's it.
of how things go.
That's it.
Yeah.
While you were saying that, I just thought of something,
Yeah.
like quick fix overnight, microwaving it through life. We had an experiment one day, and our teacher introduced a new piece of lab equipment, and it's
Ooh.
called the centrifuge machine. And sometimes with the bridge generation, we are still defining what that looks like for us.
Yeah.
Think about our world and our parents, especially like baby boomers, because that's where
Yeah.
my parents are. There was no cell phone, there was no email, there was no distance learning, there was no virtual world. All of this new nomenclature hits them. Okay, so we're the bridge because we were reared in it, we were raised in it. So they would be what I consider even the centrifuge generation, because they were not afraid of the time it takes for something to come to pass.
Right.
In this equipment, we took a test tube and we had mixed up our solution. And the goal is to mix up the solution to extract the pure elements out of it, even in the midst of the solution. And you'll put the test tube in the centrifuge machine. It's probably like about a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
And then you have to close the lid. You don't get a chance to see what goes on inside the machine. You have to trust what's happening on the inside. So what happens with the communications
Well, I like
profession?
that.
You've got to trust. Once you put the lid on, you've got to trust the process. And so we turn on the machine, I don't know, for about 60 seconds to a minute. It depends on what your instructions say in your lab notebook. And then once everything is done, you pull out your test tube. At the very bottom of the test tube is a small pellet. And that's what you want. And you'll pour off the decantant, which is the waste solution, but you keep what you value the most. What happens when you've invested all of that time to have to pour off the top and only keep a small little bit of what you need? And that's what aiming for chemistry and communications is all about. You may feel like, oh my gosh, I've put in so much effort only to get a little bit. But do you know that little bit was more valuable than what you poured off? And that's why you've got to live life in the lab. You're constantly going to be mixing and turning and spinning, but make your life your lab.
Love it.
That waste was instrumental to isolating what you needed.
Yes. Yes, and that's the part that we tend to just conveniently forget. That, like,
Mhm.
you have to go through different things
You do.
to be able to become polished, to be able to know better. Because
You do.
if everything was always just perfect, you wouldn't appreciate what it was anyways.
No, you would not. You would not. You have
You
to
know?
give yourself that.
Oh, you went quiet on me. Oh no.
I'm
Okay,
back.
good. You said you have to give yourself, and then it stopped. And I was like, what do I have to give myself? Oh no, I still can't hear you. What happened? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Good thing my music's still playing in the back.
How about now?
Okay.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
All right. We'll watch out for the good old Mr. Mute. We'll make sure he doesn't make a guest appearance in the show.
Right.
All right. I'm now tapping into my inner Amanda. You have to give yourself permission. So if you live your life in the lab, it means that you've given yourself permission.
Yes.
And it means that you've adopted this. You guys ready? Drum roll, please. Yes, you may.
Hey.
That's the permission. Yes, you may. You may bring that back into the lab. You
Mhm.
may continue to improve for as long as it takes. You may test that out to see if that works for you. And you may be confident in all that you do. Do you know sometimes people don't have money, but they have confidence?
Yeah.
Do you know sometimes they don't even have resources, but they have confidence? Do you know that confidence will get people to invest in you to get you the money and the resources that you need? If your economy is based on confidence, literally the sky is not your limit. I often hear people say the sky is the limit. Sky is never my limit. Sky is in my view, but it's definitely not my limit. You may find Renisha out there in the galaxy in outer space somewhere because the sky is not my limit.
It's so funny that you say that because one of my other sayings is like, you got to dream beyond the stars.
You do.
Instead of giving yourself that narrow view, you got
Yes, you
go
do.
beyond that. Like, why are we putting a limit on it? It's
Why?
like busting through that glass ceiling, right? Who cares? There's no limit. You honestly, you're the only one holding yourself back from becoming more. You know,
That's right.
oftentimes people are like, oh, it's because this, that, this, the other. If you really take a look deep down inside, it's like, are you the one who's like, I can go and achieve
Mhm.
this? Do you think
Mhm.
Elon Musk is putting a limit on? No. The only reason
No.
he's gotten to where he's at is because he said, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do it. Same with Nikola Tesla, who he's
Oh,
named his
yes.
company off of. If I watched a documentary on him recently, and it was
You did.
yes, it was fascinating, and he had confidence. He walked
Confidence.
into Edison's office in New York after getting literally the day he got off the boat with like $1 or something in his pocket, something ridiculously low, and was just like, "Hey, I'm one of your people in Paris. I've got this idea," and he talked himself into a job with Edison because he had confidence, and he talked himself into funding on these crazy projects because he had confidence. Because
See,
he was like, "I know these things are gonna work." He visually saw it and was like, "This is gonna work. I don't know how yet, but we're gonna figure it out." Fascinating.
so what's lacking in your life because you have not funded it with confidence? And when you decide
Ooh,
to
that's a
fund
good
it
one.
with confidence, it will come. like with scientists, if
Mhm.
you are on a fellowship, and what's beautiful about chemistry, if you ever decide to go for your master's degree,
Yeah,
then you would become a part of someone's fellowship. And honestly, your degree, your education, your lab time, all of that is funded because most of the times those professors, they are publishing and they want to be relevant with what's happening in the industry. So you'll sign up to become a part of one of their experiments. Just a short story, the department head of my chemistry department at my alma mater, he was a part of a patent with Glade. He was one of the reasons why the air freshener lingers in the air much longer than it used to be.
that's pretty cool.
He didn't have what he needed, right? But
Right.
he went in and spoke with the people, confidence, and he had confidence in what he was working out in organic chemistry that was going to be the answer to what he needed. And
Mm,
they funded it. So what in your life is lacking just because you have not paid for it with confidence? Confidence is greater than any bank account. It's greater than stocks and bonds. It will certainly allow you to aim higher than the New York Stock Exchange, that's for sure.
that's true.
You need confidence. Confidence, confidence, confidence. And where does confidence come from?
I was just about to ask.
It's not just something we say, it does take time and it does take effort. Think about this. This is what I like to lead in with confidence. Sometimes we need self-awareness. I mean, the
Mhm.
one thing that helped me grow confidence in my adult life is the Johari window. I wrote out in those four quadrants, what's my open self? What's my hidden self? What's my blind self? And what's my unknown self? That allowed me to interview people and ask them, when Renisha walks into a room, what do you see?
Mm,
Even when it was constructive, I still wanted to know, what do you see?
yeah.
And if I were to change one thing to attract you more to my message or to my work or whatever I'm doing, what would you say that was? Because I am a scientist, I start paying attention to patterns because patterns was an indication that I needed to take that and experiment on it so that I could build my experience. And then once I applied that, I said, wow, so that does work. Wow, feedback has changed. Not just feedback, impact changed. My
Yeah.
audience grew. I was able to reach more people because I stepped outside of myself. What was being defunded because I lacked the confidence? And sometimes we just have to put on our big girl and big boy britches
Yep.
and say, hey, give it to me straight. Some days, my family always fights me with this. Some days I have to give it to you guys straight, so I hope you guys can handle this. But some days I can't give you, I need it on the rocks.
Yeah.
I said it. I'm a chemist, right?
Yep. You went mute again. What happened? How does that keep happening? No. But I
What
agree with
happened?
you. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back. You said
Yes.
sometimes I just need it on the rocks. I don't need, I think you have to get it in both ways. You can say things to people and it can be hurtful, or
Mm-hmm.
you can choose to word things. And this is where communication is huge. And where I think we have a big opportunity,
Yeah.
especially with the younger generation, especially with this instant gratification, especially with the ability to
Oh, yeah.
anonymously type things and not feel like anybody's going to find out it was me or whatnot.
That's right.
The way we say things matters.
Yeah.
The words we choose to string together
Yeah.
matters. And taking time to reflect on that is vital. And it's not taught enough in schools. I mean, if it is at all, I don't know. Not really. There's not a lot of self-reflection in schools. And I think that's
Mm-mm.
that's where we have a big opportunity to take hold and say, okay, it's okay to mess up and think about what is it that I said and how could I have
Mm.
worded it better? How would it make me feel if somebody
Yeah.
else said that to me? And oftentimes,
Yeah.
especially when we're younger, we tend to think like, oh, I'd be fine. I wouldn't bother that. But if you really take a hard look at it and turn the tables, you'll see, no, you wouldn't. You would not have liked the way that came across.
Not at
The
all.
tone, the message, and we get a lot of
Yeah.
things lost because we
We
don't
do.
get tone. We don't get body language. We get a
I
text,
love
an
that.
email.
I love that. And
It's important.
sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you said it
Yep.
that gets us in trouble.
Mhm.
People could handle the content, but your delivery caused them to lose really what you were trying to say. And
Yeah.
when you're handling communications like chemistry, then that's where you say, hey, that experiment didn't go so well. What did I learn from that? And now, how will I change my strategy and my approach moving forward? And this is where I get to empower so many people that deep down inside, as much as you hated science in school, at the heart and soul of who you are in life, you are a scientist. Many of us do things every day subconsciously, and we don't realize we're experimenting every day. We are testing what works and what does not work. Do you know every day you wake up, it's a day of research. You're
Ooh,
constantly storing data. You're constantly documenting your journey, whether you want to or not. Can I prove your memory bank, your short-term and your long-term memory proves that. How many times have you gone through your day and you can replay an entire conversation as if it was fresh?
mm-hmm.
If that's what's happening to you as a communicator, all of that plays a role in how you show up, how you speak up, what you choose to say to people, when, where, how, and why.
Right.
All of that's in your test tube. All of that's under your observation. And all of that deserves time and effort in the lab notebook while you're making the adjustments.
And that's the key, your lab notebook. So that
Your lab
means
notebook.
writing it down, paying attention to it, taking some time to
Right.
reflect on it. And I think you have a lot of great ideas here that I think even in terms of like leadership, working with other people, like it's huge, and it's something that we don't always take the time to reflect. Like, okay,
The
how could I
truth.
have worded this email better? And because also saying nothing is communication.
That's right.
If you
That's
get a one-word email, especially from a boss, you're like, good, I did something wrong. Like almost inevitably there's a negative feeling when you get like just that no. And you're like, okay, all right. Well,
seriously.
so it's important for leaders to understand that their words matter, their tones matter, and to
That's true.
take time to think about it. Because just because you're the leader doesn't mean you know everything.
No, it doesn't.
It means
No, it does
that you
not.
have the opportunity to guide the conversation. It
That's right.
doesn't mean that you're the one controlling it. And I think that's a big deal. I liked what I just said there.
I like what you just said there too.
So, sometimes I say things like, oh, that was pretty good.
I'm telling you, that one needs to be documented. That goes in the lab notebook
Boom. There it
to
is.
share
See,
with
that's why
others
I type things as I hear them because I'm like, man, that's good. We gotta write that
because
down.
somebody can pick up the manual called Amanda and then they can test it out and say, wow, that goes from my manual too. I can
And
work that out.
yeah.
And it's all about testing. It's all about researching and getting in there. And I love the way that you titled this episode, The Science of Self-Confidence, because self-confidence is going to be classified as a science today. Science is a branch of study that
Mm,
establishes facts after testing and observation. That's truly what makes a science, is that it has to be set up for rigorous testing. If you think about any smart manufacturer, they would never ever sell a product that has not been tested.
oh gosh, no.
If I were to say my windows or my doors are storm proof, it means I have to send it through the storm to prove that it can be more than a conqueror above the storm. But I won't know that unless I set it up for testing. You
Right.
cannot say, I'm a polished communicator, had you not put yourself into some situations where your polish is tested, such as we're Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Table topics throw people off their rocker.
Ooh, yeah, I do.
People cringe and shake at the knees to speak on the fly.
Yeah.
But you'll pop on an elevator and spark up a random conversation with Joe or Cindy or Tamala. You just did a table topic. You
That's
know
right.
what helps me survive table topics from day one? Because I am a scientist, I always see life in what I call 3Ds.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I would listen to people answer the question, and I automatically knew somewhat of the perfect formula for a speech or a point is that you have an intro, you got 3 points because human beings remember things in threes, and then you have a powerful close to seal the
True.
deal. I thought to myself, well, why not just live my life automatically in 3 days that I'm always observing 3 points at any given moment? At any given moment.
Yep.
And then when life catches you on the fly, you're able to instantly deliver those 3 points. And then guess what? You gave yourself bandwidth. Now you can expand on those points. And before you know it, something that maybe was a minute or 2 minute conversation, if you needed to branch it out to 10 minutes, you've set yourself up for a formula where you can balance the equation.
I mean, hello. There you go. And for
That's
those of you
it.
that don't know what a table topic is, let me fill you in real quick.
Okay.
Sometimes we forget this. I think this is a common communication problem in and of itself.
Yes.
We have this vernacular, this vocabulary, this language within an organization,
Yes.
within the field of science, within Toastmasters, within our job, within Home Depot, right?
Yes.
That we are so familiar with that we just speak it and forget that other people outside of our organization don't know what we're talking about. I actually recently was talking with some people within Toastmasters. They were working on an open house, and I was like, here's the thing. We got to talk to people where they are, and we can't use internal language
Mm-hmm.
to entice external people, because all that's going to happen is they're going to feel alienated. So if you're not a Toastmaster, we bring up table topics, you're going to be like, and then tune out.
Uh-huh.
And that's something that I'm kind of crusading, dare I say. It's
I
like,
like
we
that.
need to remember to translate so that everybody can understand and so that everybody can feel included, because ultimately, as human beings, we want to feel like we're part of something.
That's right.
Community, it's huge. But if we put up blockers like that, then, people, they turn away. So
Definitely.
that was a long way to say table topics is, here's the definition. When somebody asks you a short question and you need to answer that question on the fly without preparation in 1 to 2 minutes. And that's all the time you have.
Yep.
And it's a super useful skill because, like she said, you're on an elevator and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, this is awkward if I say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What can I talk about? Or it's an opportunity. You never know when you're going to meet somebody on
That's
an
it.
airplane, in an elevator, even through the drive-through. I am notorious for talking to the people through the drive-through and trying to make them laugh every single time. Like, I am always trying to make a joke in the drive-through.
I thought I was the only oddball that does stuff like that.
And they
Or
always
waitresses in
love it.
restaurants.
You never know. I've gotten discounts, I've gotten extra, like,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
not the reason. I just want to make their day a little bit better, But you don't know how that could turn somebody's day around either. You
You
just
are
don't.
so right.
So
It
it's
happened,
important.
that's happened to us before. My husband and I, we were out dining with our family, and we went to our favorite seafood restaurant. And I noticed the manager, she wasn't as bubbly as she normally is. And so I just decided to give her an encouraging word.
Yeah.
And she said, I was on the verge of quitting, and your kind words reminded me why I do what I do. This is not a prepared speech, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a keynote speech.
Nope.
This is not a training seminar. This was me encouraging someone. It sparked her day. And I didn't do this for what she did for us. We ended up getting free appetizers next time we came, and free dessert, and a couple of other goodies. The kindness comes with its rewards. I
does.
didn't do it for that, but that's what happened in exchange.
And that's what
Just
happens,
a
though.
little something. And for
Mhm.
her, guess what was happening with her? Miscommunications with the kitchen, which caused miscommunications with customer service.
Yep.
So by fixing that root cause, everything else fell into place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's moments like that. I mean, that was the best stage probably I've ever delivered a speech on, was giving someone kind words to shift their day.
And it probably was like 20 seconds, right? Like, it probably wasn't even.
Literally. And thank goodness she decided to stop out of all of the chaos and said, hi, how can I help you? Her countenance didn't change. She was still when she engaged us, she was still the bright, bubbly person we knew her to be. And then we watched her the remainder of the evening, and she went back to the way we used to see her.
Yeah.
And now when we see her, she still remembers that day, and we laugh about it. And she said, thank you, because I'm where I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Aw, that's so sweet.
And that's
That's
why I
so
do what
sweet.
I do. When I needed to repurpose myself as a scientist, I said, despite the money, I'm where I'm now. I'm not encouraging anybody to just go be broke, but
Let's be clear.
I'm saying don't be clear, just don't go broke. But what I am saying is when you are operating in your gift on purpose and you are with the community, the target audience that you were intended for, there's not really a cash value anyone can put on that.
No.
And when I found out I could make my lab and invite people in and use communications as my experiment, something that I love, that I'm passionate about, that I see changes people's lives, then I knew I was good to go. And I was worried at first. At first, I
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah,
a
it's scary.
say deep down inside. I thought,
Right.
will people get it? Does it
Right.
make sense? And I even took that and put it in the lab. So as I am giving people advice about the lab, that's because I'm there myself. I never invite you into a place that I'm not a resident.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
won't
no,
have you to
that's
do that.
yeah.
Hey, I've already paid the mortgage for you. I've paid the rent. I've already signed the lease. All you have to do is just move in and start labbing.
Hello.
That's it.
Move in and start
Just
laughing.
move in. You'll call your favorite mover, your local mover. If you want to U-Haul it, it's okay with me. Nevertheless, I want you to pack your bags and come on in the lab. And Amanda, I just think that there's somebody that probably will listen to this show or many of your other amazing shows. And we just want to remind them, yes, you may, you can do this and you will do this. In the words of Amanda Maygray, give yourself permission. And when you give yourself permission, know that there is a science to the self confidence. So give yourself the time to work it out in the lab and give yourself grace, by the way, plenty of grace.
Yes. I couldn't have said it better.
Just give yourself plenty of grace. And then you definitely want to be around healthy feedback and coaching.
Huge.
So in all this testing, right, if nobody's able to give you feedback and help you know that you're on the right track, you definitely need a curriculum with this. You need some objectives, you need some goals. And then find a circle of trust, those that are experts in the field or just people that you value their opinion and their expertise, and have them to evaluate you. Say, for instance, hey, come with me. I've got to give this 10-minute speech. I want you to evaluate me on my ability to effectively connect with the audience.
Yes.
Tell me, when did they laugh? Tell me, when did I send them thinking? Tell me when you saw me stir up their emotions. Tell me when you saw them pause to jot down notes. Okay, get that feedback. Maybe the next time you want to work on your filler words, get that feedback. If you're like Renisha, when you first got started, you talk fast and people had trouble keeping up with you. So find people you can trust and say, in those 10 minutes, you talk so darn fast, I didn't understand anything you just said.
Right.
Can you slow it down? And you take that feedback and you add that into your next experiment. And guess what's happening? As you get better, and people tell you you're getting better, you're feeding and fueling the confidence you need because you start feeling it, but other people are feeling it as well. And it will happen naturally. Don't you worry about trying to force it to happen. It's going to happen if you trust the process. But the secret to my success, if you think of me as the nucleus of an atom, I've had so many amazing electrons of evaluation orbiting me. And that's what has fueled my fire. I found people I could trust. Amanda pointed it out to you guys earlier in Toastmasters. That's one of many organizations or circle of trust that I've invested in to get that feedback. And it has worked out quite well. But you find what works for you. You have to test it out.
You gotta find what works for you.
You gotta find what works for you.
And that requires testing. It's funny. I feel like Toastmasters comes up all the time on my show because it's kind of an integral part. But
they say we drink the Kool-Aid.
You do.
That's what we say.
Sugar. But you can go to more than one place and test things out. It's just like shopping for a car. Typically, you don't just go to one dealership and that's the end of it,
That's
right?
true.
Like you go and you shop around, you do your research, you figure things out, you test a few different things, and then you make your informed decision. And that's the thing we need to do in all aspects of our lives.
Yes, we do.
It's even with friends, and not everybody's going to be a fit for you forever, right?
That's
You
right.
might grow out of something. You might start in one place and grow to another, and that's okay. That's
That's
the
right.
thing. It is okay to do that.
It is
We're coming up
okay.
on 45 minutes in like 9 seconds, which is longer than anticipated, but it's such a good conversation that I couldn't stop it. I do want to give you the opportunity to talk about what's coming up with Miss Renisha Allen and where they can hear more from you, because I'm going to go ahead and venture say they're going to want to. So tell me what's going on with you. What can they learn about?
Oh my goodness. Well, today's episode for me was a leap of faith, everyone. I am stepping out of Renisha's comfort zone and testing out something. I've been known as a public speaker in many different arenas and to many different audiences, but I'm on the innovative planning track for Toastmasters
Mhm.
specifically. And what I love about Toastmasters is it is a self discovery program. And on level 4 of the innovative planning path, which is like a learning path you sign up for and you choose projects to work on so you can hone a specific skill, the elective called for one of 11 to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I had what it takes. I really didn't. Most people, I'm probably catching them off guard. They're like, "You what?" I'm
Right.
like, everyone. I think this takes just a different skill set to pull off.
Yeah.
I'm not
I guess so.
physically in front of an audience here. I can't feed off of those social cues.
Right.
But with that project, I decided not to just check the box, but make
Mm.
this a continuum. So, with that being said, I run a conglomerate of what I call ministry, media, and more. It's Renisha Allen Media. So on one side, I'm in ministry, and on another side, I am into graphic design and public speaking. And so I've made the podcast a part of my business as usual. And on my birthday, June 20th this year, which is just in 13 days, I will debut the Communications Chemist podcast. So, all this talk about the lab and our journey, the science of self confidence, you're going to hear more about it as you join me in the lab. And guess what? I will help you convert your theories into truth, your experiments into experience, and potential into power. If you want to maximize effectiveness, I'm your chemist. So
Love
get
it.
your protective eyewear, your lab jacket, as well as your notebook. And we're getting ready to mix up a powerful solution for you and go to work.
That's right. You just always make me excited.
Be
And in
excited too,
case
though.
anybody missed it, it's RenishaAllenMedia.com. Oh, I wonder if I can put it in the chat. I might be able to. Can I comment? Boom.
Woot, woot. So
And
we are
it'll be on the
building
show
out some
notes.
special stuff for you.
Well,
And we will be through the Spotify app as of June 20th. So be on the lookout. There's already a trailer out there if you search for us on the Spotify app, and you can learn more about where we're headed. And I, like Amanda, from time to time, I'll have special guests, but I will also be opening up my lab notebook and teaching you some tips, tricks, and best practices that are proven, and we have the results. There are things that I've done, my mentors have passed to me, as well as my mentees. So we have what the culture calls now receipts. We're coming with receipts. We have proof of purchase, or as I should say, proof of the experiment time in the lab.
right. That's right.
We are coming with it. So that's what's coming up for me shortly.
I'm so
And
excited.
while we're building out the podcast, I'm also working behind the scenes to create a notebook for learners that want to be self starters, build that confidence, and maximize their effectiveness as a communicator.
Yes.
So as you listen to the show, you're actually in the lab with me while we're working all this out. You will be a part of the project.
That's very cool. I did not have that much forward thinking. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm the queen of winging it.
Hey, I like to wing it too. I call myself Random Renisha.
Well, that's good.
I'm going to get a shirt. It's going to be called Random Renisha. Abstract, ambiguous. You just do it. I love it. Structure is cool. It's beautiful.
It is.
Live a little. That's all I have to say. Just live.
I'm known for just diving in head first and being like, "We'll see what happens." Like,
I'm not always what do they call it in carpentry? I'm not always the measure twice, cut once.
right,
I
yeah,
may cut, 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 cut. Oh, that's a nice cut. Oh, I cut off too much. Maybe I can
right.
just trim it right there.
That's
That's
much to
me.
my father's dismay. He is actually a engineer and can build you anything. Works in the wood shop, and that's what I grew up in. And yet I'm still like, like he's like, oh, you should think things through first. But then I'll overthink things. So it's what are you gonna do? So there you go. But nonetheless, I want to thank you for coming on. My light just fell, which is why this side of me just became less.
Hey, we're in the lab. You can
Welcome
knock
to
things over.
the
You can do whatever you need to
imperfect.
do. There's a science to it.
Well, so in case you were wondering if this is really live and I don't edit, there you have it. Nope, I do not. Why? Because this is more entertaining, I think.
Yes,
And, I rather show people that I'm not perfect.
me too.
Growing up, I was teased for being perfect. And it really gave me a perfectionist complex that I felt like I always had to do everything perfect. And instead, and I apparently come off that way still. And it's like, no, that's not the case at all. And
Mhm.
I want to be more relatable and show people that, like, just be real, man.
Just be real.
Just be real. Enjoy it. Embrace all the things and just have fun.
All the things.
You know,
All the things.
all the. Let's see if I can make this bigger. All the non-pink sides anymore. Whatever. It's fine. Well, Renisha, thank you for coming on. I can't wait. June 20th is around the corner.
It
On the
is.
lookout, ladies and gentlemen. And
Yes,
we are
yes,
excited
yes.
that you came on today. I hope everybody out there has a beautiful day. Connect with us. Let us know any questions, thoughts you might have. And if this was interesting for you and you think of somebody else who could learn something or might be interested in it as well, please go ahead and share, put it out there. And otherwise, I hope each and every person has a beautiful day today. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for being here, Renisha.
Thank you for having me, Amanda. Early birthday present.
Birthday.